Spoilers for Sonic X Shadow Generations ahead!
Finally, I've got you now. I won't let you get away.
This is a bonus episode of Idle Hell, because it's about a game that only 2 members have played. This is the Sonic X Shadow episode.
Yeah, and I'm the resident Sonic fan, and I need to talk about it. I really need to talk about it.
Yeah, so overall, guessing we could start with just general impressions. I think it is the main thing. I think one thing I've heard, I think Snapcube described it best, where she was planning on saying it was a step in the right direction, and then it was more than that.
Yeah, this is not like Sonic Frontiers was a step in the right direction, but it had like classic Sonic Team slop in it, and I think my issue with Frontiers is that open zone, great idea. I think that Shadow Generations like realized what it should be. And it also realized that stages are cool and fun, and stages should be good, unlike Cyberspace, which I think is genuinely rancid and awful in Frontiers. I don't think they're fun. They made good ones for the DLC. The DLC, I played a couple of them, and like the DLC in Frontiers, I was like, this is level design, this is something, but I don't feel inclined to play it because there isn't anything of note in the stages. They're just kind of obstacle courses rather than like an identity. Like I can't tell you which one is cyberspace like 4D or whatever they're labeled as. Like they don't have names, nothing. They're no unique music. It's a shame.
Yeah, and especially since like there's 4 level themes. One of them they call it's meant to be like an original theme. They call it like Eternal Highway, but that's just City Escape. And then most of the level design is reused.
Yeah, and then most of it's reused until I think Final Island, where they like got to the ones that they probably made first. And then like Shadow Generations, they made it, and it's like, wow, these stages are not only good, they are probably the best stages in a Sonic game in 10 years, at least. I'd say some of them are better than the best stages in Gens. Like
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, especially since unlike or OG gens, this game actually like dedicates itself to the idea of one act 3D, the other act 2D. Well, aside from the final stage, but that's like a special thing. OG gens, it's like, oh, one act is all 2D, the other is 3D, and sometimes 2D again.
Yeah, it's a lot more focused, and I think it's a difference in that Shadow Generations is based on the Frontiers engine, which I had issues with for a while. I think I like it better than Gens now, though, because I think Gens is so clunky, like not clunky, but like tanky. Like Sonic is very tanky in Gens. Like you boost and he like feels heavy and moves like really slowly. Where Shadow in Shadow Gens, it feels like very fast.
Yeah,
He feels like
he can actually
precise.
turn around.
And that feels really good. Uh and I also appreciate that they made it like feel like it plays differently than like Gens. Like Shadow plays differently than Sonic, and it's a very much a combat thing. I think they finally figured out like how combat should work in this game, where it makes you go faster. It's like the speed in Shadow Generations is based on how fast can you kill things. The better you are at it, the faster you go, because he teleports to the enemies, so it saves time to do that.
Yeah, and
Uh,
there's even like combat mechanics that like bring you to different parts, like whenever you have to like aim the enemy at a certain spot.
yeah, it feels like it's all made to keep you moving while also keeping you on your toes, while also not being like just unleashed again. It's different than Unleashed, but I like it. And I might like it better than what I've played of Unleashed.
Yeah.
which might be a really hot take. I do think some of Unleashed stages are fantastic, but I just enjoyed these more than what I played of Unleashed. Well, I have not played Unleashed in a while, and most of my experience is through Unleashed Project. But yeah, I don't know. It feels, especially like compared to the last like Forces, which this is also technically on the Forces engine. Uh, Frontiers was based off of Forces, and this game was also technically based off of Forces.
Yeah, but it also looks like a million times better than Forces.
Yeah, definitely an art direction thing with this game. I think it is weird. Like I don't know what it is that some of it looks like the cutscene where Sonic shows up and he does like the SA2 pose. The posing on that is way better. Is way better than it was in Gens. But the lighting feels like almost mucky. I don't know how to describe it. Like it looks like a little bit of grease is on the camera, and I don't know why that happens with that cutscene and in general with this new engine.
Yeah, I think the main thing with like compare how Sunset Heights looks in this game to how it looked in Forces, and like really like a major upgrade. Even the level design of Sunset Heights is like way better. It's an actual level.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more interaction with the stage. They made the stage interact with Sonic, where Forces it like doesn't feel like you're interacting with the stage ever. You're just kind of holding a button. And I think that's like what makes Shadow Generations like really fun. Is Shadow is one very fun to control, and feels unique to Sonic. And also, like Shadow interacts with these stages. It's like brief cutscenes that indicate like a switch in the level. I like that. It's what I missed in Forces and especially Frontiers. It was something that just was not in Frontiers at all. And that was a real shame. That's what made me so disappointed in Frontiers. Is I like Frontiers. I think it's a solid game, and the boss fights in Frontiers are probably the model that if they go with that style for the next game, they should look at like those bosses again because they're really fun. Although I will say, I think Shadow Generations, the bosses are all better than Gens by like a lot. I think these bosses are so much better than Sonic Generations.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially the final boss.
Yeah, it's like all of them are fun. I go back and play all of them, and I'm like, I thoroughly enjoyed all of them, and for different reasons. They're all like really just really fun. I don't know. It feels weird that one, the game works. Like, there's not obvious things that don't work as there is with Frontiers, where that game like blatantly does not work a lot of the time. And it's also just consistently fun, which I would say even Generations, like the base game, struggles with. I don't think Planet Wisp is fun at all. I think that stage sucks. That stage is not fun. I've given it a chance. I think the first minute, like 30 seconds of that stage is really good. I just think the 2D section is like not fun, even if like I've gotten good times on it. I just don't want to go back. There is not a stage in this I don't want to go back to. I will say I prefer the 3D to 2D. But I know why I get why it's there, and I wouldn't say that 2D is bad. I would definitely not say that the 2D by any extent is bad in this game.
Yeah,
It feels fun.
yeah. And one thing I also like is unlike the original gens, there's more of a story here. Like there's like more of a focus on it. The original gens was just like here are the fan favorite levels, just go.
Yeah, thank you, Ian Flynn, for caring about the characters that are in the game.
Like I will say,
Uh,
I think it would have been cool if they did what OG gens did and put two shadows, but that wouldn't really do anything for the story. Like the story was built around just one shadow.
yeah, it's I don't know, it's refreshing. It's like that's what Frontiers really made me happy with was a story that cared about the characters in it. Like you could argue whether Frontiers has a good story or not. I know a lot of Sonic fans obviously argue about that a lot, especially now because it's people liked Frontiers, so now they must not like Frontiers. Uh But still, it's like the characters are characters, and it's like clearly written by someone who cares, which is better than what Gens was, which was written by people who don't care. And I prefer at least something written by someone who cares than people who don't care.
Yeah, I like how like the ending, like it wasn't just like, oh, Shadow won. It's like it's specifically about him accepting like the way things are instead of just, oh, go through cool levels.
Yeah, it's I don't know. They really cooked with it.
Yeah, the ending is one of my favorite parts of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like why I like Ian Flynn, and I know like again, Sonic fans are like weird about this, and I like kind of see like issues with his writing. I get it, but I think it's like splitting hairs at this point because it's not like baldy nose hair. Like we were in the trenches, and we're in a point now where we have a writer who not only cares about this character and all these characters, but I think writes like some of my favorite moments in the series so far. Like in Frontiers, the moment where like Sage tells Sonic like the corruption has like taken over you and you could barely stand, yet you still smile, and he doesn't say anything. I'm like, that's what that character means to me. Like this guy's not doing it for himself, and I think that Ian Flynn gets these characters like way more than Graf and Pontac or whoever is writing these games for like gens and colors. Like it feels like someone who takes these characters as seriously as we do. And I just am happy that these characters are taken seriously because they are characters that mean something to me.
Yeah, and
Uh,
I can I really like how they incorporated it. Like this is like one of the most believable like additional side stories I could see. Like I could definitely see how this fits alongside like the story of the original gens.
yeah, they whenever they made gens in like 2013 now, they got really lucky that they chose to make the Chaos Emerald yellow so that they could do the fucking fake emerald bit in this game. Like whoever saw that and had a brain blast of how to make this game work with that, like deserves like appreciation because that's like the craziest retcon you can make. And it works. It works really well. Uh, yeah, and I think they figured out the open zone. I think that I want a Sonic game that plays like a bigger open zone, obviously, like a full game that I would pay $60 for, maybe even 40, but I prefer 60. Like Frontier's length.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want like Frontier's length game where the stages are like this game, more, more stages, I would say. Uh, and like open zone like Frontiers, just maybe like more interestingly designed and more like tight knit. With that, I'd be like, this is my favorite game, and maybe some movement stuff like Chaos Spirit. I know it's not like technically not intentional, I would say, but the Chaos Spear movement in this game is really fun, and I like this is what I like about Sonic. This feels like what we had in like adventure and shit where you had the spin dash and like a lot of movement with spin dash. The Chaos Spear movement is like it's not fully intentional, but I think that's what Sonic's all about. Is like the unintentional movement shit.
Yeah, and one thing like going back to how the going back to like Sunset Heights being your game, I do like how this also continues the trend from gens of taking stages from like the bad games and then making them good.
Yeah,
Like
I greatly appreciate that they did that.
Kingdom Valley is a really fun stage.
Yeah, I think Act 1 is one of the best I would say one of the best, but I actually think Chaos Island is probably like the most fun stage in this game once I get going in it. Like once I get Chaos Island right, it's awesome. It's one of the most fun stages. But I think Kingdom Valley's up there. It's like a stage that one is not short. I'd say it's longer than most base gen stages. But it's still like fun there's like a lot of ways to go in it. It's a very well made stage.
Yeah. And I like how they were. I like how one thing I will say is that they were willing to like double dip, and by that I mean they used stages and bosses that were in the 3DS version of Gens, which shows to be that that version of the game was just like it didn't fucking matter.
It did not matter. Yeah, that game was not good.
Yeah.
The Big Arm remix is the best thing about that game. I can't believe they put that in that dog ass game. There is a 3 minute long remix for Big Arm for a boss fight that maybe takes 40 seconds, and it is a crazy ass remix. It's really good.
Yeah. And I will say, I do like the stage and boss selection, even if I do have a few nitpicks. Like I've said it before, how are you gonna make a Shadow game without a stage from his game?
Yeah, at least we did get the Westopolis remix in Tokyo
Yeah,
for the
the
DLC.
DLC. I
And I will say that's like my favorite remix in the game already.
Yeah. I mean,
It's crazy good.
I mean, you could make the point that like, kind of like how there was a Metal Sonic fight in Sonic Gens without a CD stage. I guess like the Black Doom boss fight is the Shadow 05 rep. But I mean, like, I would have also liked a stage from that game.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
Yeah. What else is there? Yeah, I think, with, I do like some of his new abilities, and someone pointed out how I think, like, the Doom abilities were meant to, like, emulate some of the things he could do in 06 with, like, the vehicles.
Yeah, I think it's a really good way of putting in like those mechanics.
Yeah, and I also like how they made the wings sort of like, because obviously like in the context of the story he wouldn't be able to use his super form, so I like how they used the Doom wings as sort of a substitute for that.
Yeah, it's I don't know, they kind of just it feels like a game that they cared about, which with Forces it feels like a game they did not care about,
Yeah.
which is it's just a change of pace. And also like Team Sonic Racing, which is a game that felt really half-assed and not like great.
Yeah.
And Frontiers, which is like I think it's a solid game. And I think it has some of the stuff that's like this is what Sonic should be. It gets what Sonic should be, but it's like it's still not there. It's not at that point.
Yeah. I I will say with the stage selection, a lot of people have complained about a Frontier stage because like, oh, Shadow wasn't in that game, and I like that there's stages from after gens, because it even if those stage like Sunset Heights, Shadow did go there, but even if Shadow wasn't in Frontiers, like unless they made like a full on sequel to Generations, like what other opportunity are they gonna get to like put the post gens stages in the game?
Yeah, I would also I think it'd be really funny if Flynn is trying to set something up here, because I have no doubt that nothing here was an accident. They chose Sunset Heights for a reason because that's the stage that Shadow appears in Forces. That's like the Shadow stage in Forces. The mission in Forces during Sunset Heights is to track down Shadow. So they chose that one for a reason, and I wanna guess that it'd be a good bit that if we get a later game that Shadow ends up going to Chaos Island or something. I would not
Yeah,
be surprised at all.
yeah, and I'm guessing that so I haven't played all the way through Heroes. I'm guessing like Rail Canyon is just because Shadow was in Heroes, or
I have not played Heroes either. Heroes is kind of a hard game to play in the modern day if you don't have the means of playing it. Let me just say,
yeah,
they need a PC port or something of that game,
yeah.
like desperately.
Yeah, and I do know the story for 06 like a little bit, so I'm guessing like Kingdom Valley is because that's where like he first meets Mephiles, and Mephiles is a boss.
Yeah, it is. Kingdom Valley, I would say, is a very important stage for Shadow because that's kind of where his story kicks off. So I'd say Kingdom Valley makes a lot of sense for Shadow. I think all of them have connection to Shadow except for Chaos Island, which, I mean, knowing Ian Flynn again, I would not doubt that it was not an accident that they chose Chaos Island.
Yeah.
We may just not know what the reason is yet because the Shadow says like places he hasn't seen yet, and I think Gerald says like these are places that you're going to go, and we know that he does go to Sunset Heights. Like that is specifically a place that he went. Like he might have not gone to Mystic Jungle or Arsenal Pyramid, but he did go to Sunset Heights. We know that 100%. He did go to Arsenal Pyramid. That's my bad. He did go to Arsenal Pyramid. He does in the episode Shadow.
Yeah. I also think it's funny how, because of this game, Shadow knew that the events of forces were gonna happen, and he did nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I get why he wouldn't do anything because, like,
I don't think
Shane.
I don't think he was able to figure out I don't think he would put together what had happened and forces.
Yeah, I mean, true. I guess like he just sees like, oh, city being destroyed by a bunch of death eggs, and like, okay, this will happen.
He's like, this is gonna happen later. This seems like another year.
Yeah.
By the way, I think it's like confirmed that all the events of like modern Sonic take place in maybe like 3 years.
Yeah, I remember hearing that like I don't remember if it was like modern Sonic or like the whole series took place in 1 year. That would be
Uh,
ridiculous.
I think it is like modern Sonic takes place in like about 1 year.
Yeah.
That is like the one issue of like Ian Flynn trying to make a Sonic Bible is that they're like, we did not give the devs for a while were like, we do not give a shit about when this happens because it is a video game with a funny hedgehog that runs around. So we're not gonna focus too much on that. Which ended up now that someone's trying to go back and fix it. That he's like, yeah, this is not gonna make any sense. He just lives like he is Goku. He is gonna have things that happen every day and it's normal.
Yeah.
Which again, it literally is impossible because I think Sonic was captured for 6 months in forces, so it is like literally impossible.
Yeah.
At least 3 months in forces. 3 months as forces.
Yeah. And I even like some of the attention to detail. Like, obviously, in Generations, they didn't acknowledge that '06 was non-canon, but I like that they took the effort to acknowledge it in this game, where Mephiles is desperate for attention and wants Shadow to remember him.
Yeah, I really liked what they did with Mephiles in this game. I think it is it's the smartest thing you could do if your story is time travel and it's like, okay, we're gonna bring back the one game that was erased from the timeline because we can, and it makes sense that Mephiles' agenda is like, I literally just want to exist at all because I will not exist if I lose. Like, he bargains with you. He is like, I might actually spare your life, please just let me live. I am not going to exist at all if you win.
Yeah.
Which is like, I think that's just a really fun concept to explore that, like, of course, Generations doesn't explore any of these ideas. Sonic goes, wow, the city's on fire. He doesn't even say anything. I don't think he says anything about Crisis City. He just saves Blade.
I don't think he has any dialogue in any of the stages. They at least put that much effort into Shadow, where he actually like comments on. Well, I mean, he doesn't always like comment on the stuff happening in the stages. It's mainly like used for like the Black Doom segments, but he at the very least has dialogue in the stages.
Yeah, it's and like after the stage when you talk to Gerald and other characters, it gives you background on it where they say, yeah, I've not been here before, or wow, I remember this stage.
Yeah, and the other attention to detail I have is that you cannot use Chaos Control on Metal Overlord.
Yeah, they remembered that shit. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. You can't use it.
Yeah. Also, I will say, I used to not be a fan of the current Shadow voice actor, Kirk Thornton, but this game, he really proved himself.
Yeah, they gave him a voice direction for once. When he has good direction, he is like really good.
Yeah. I want to go back to the ending for one because the thing I like about it is how not only are they willing to give Shadow emotions, which is something they won't even do for Sonic. I like how they present it like we don't just see like all Shadow crying. We see him run past Rouge and then like because he's going fast, one of his tears like lands on her face. Like that
Yeah,
genuinely shocked me the first time I beat the game.
yeah. Again, Ian Flynn like knows how to make these characters like have emotion. It's like what I liked about Frontiers is that one scene where they actually gave Sonic like emotion. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Instead of a baldy nose hair and in colors.
Yeah. And this has been pointed out before, but I like that each boss is in a way, a version of Shadow.
Yeah, it's good.
Like, I would have, I would have liked if they put Infinite as a boss, but I know I get what they were doing with the bosses.
Yeah, and you know what? I trust Ian Flynn that he is going to bring back Infinite at one point because he brought back Mephiles, who has not been in any game ever. I keep giving him the credit for it. I don't know, but you could tell this game was like at least at the very least not written by the same guys who wrote Gens. There's attention to detail in here that's not just random shit in there, and same with Frontiers.
Yeah, and speaking of gens, I think we could touch on some of the changes they made, like the most like infamous part of the remaster, which is the rewritten cutscenes.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, I think they're very weird, and the only like rewrite that I really think worked is I know the whole "you got this, Sonic." I know that's like a meme, but I do like how they changed it to "on your feet" because that feels more in character.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of rewrite is silly. I will say, I do appreciate it for bringing the new voice actors in properly, which they have not been. Like Silver being the new guy, Nagito
Bryce,
Komaeda.
yeah,
Yeah.
Bryce,
And I'm like, I appreciate that they're at least keeping it consistent. And if they're gonna have to do that anyway, then might as well just do all the characters and try to fix it. Which they can't fix that game. I think that the story of that game is unfixable, and it's without like rewriting everything.
yeah. Uh, and as for like, I will say, I think the remaster. I feel like I refuse like at the moment I refuse to open up the original version unless it's like for mods, which I haven't found any mods that have gotten me to go back, but I prefer the remaster. Like the controls, switch to the Frontiers control style took some getting used to, but I do like how they have the original like button layout for people who want it, and I just like how this version actually runs well.
Yeah, I like this version because I could actually open it, which I cannot open OG Gens on my computer anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
why. It just says like every time I open it, I fixed it like twice to play Unleash Project. I can't open it. It says like, oh yeah, because I got a new monitor and my monitor is higher resolution than the previous one. The game resets every time, and I'd have to go into the Steam folder in order to fix it, and it's like it's just time consuming, and it's like I just want to open the game and play 2 levels, which I can't do, so I just stop playing. And again, this one runs a lot better than it's a lot smoother, and I don't know if this is just me, like I'm a tweaker. It feels more responsive. It's way more responsive than OG Gens. OG Gens on PC at least um is not responsive. I will say they added the drop dash and they say the homing attack button is different. It's not. It is not different. And you can't change this. It is not a different button. It is that they just made 2 jump buttons that both homing attack as
yeah,
well. So they say it's like, oh, press A and X or whatever to jump. Not true. It is you could press X twice or A twice to jump, which is dumb, and it should be that one button is homing attack, one button is jump, and when you do the jump twice, it does a drop dash. It should be like that.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I'm guessing I'm pretty sure that's the reason why for Classic Sonic it's a skill you can equip instead of like ingrained into his moveset, because like if you have the homing attack equipped, like they would like conflict with each other. And I'm not sure why they added it to modern Sonic in the first place, considering he doesn't even does you can't use the spin dash as modern, right?
you can't, but they did add the drop dash to Frontiers as well. The drop dash is going to be in every single Sonic game forever now. Like, no matter which one you play, they're just gonna keep adding it. Oh, it is open gens and it's chunky. What the fuck? I will say this port still runs worse than Shadow Gens. Shadow Gens runs way better.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what's up with it.
and there were some issues I found, other issues I found with the remaster. Like the first time I played the Death Egg boss fight, for some reason it was it was a lot clunkier than the original.
Yeah. A lot of the bosses are just they feel weird.
Yeah. So I think, okay, just another thing. I want to touch on the DLC a bit more. Understand that like it's good, it's fine, but it does feel like they rushed it out to get it out like before the movie releases.
Yeah, I will say like my one gripe with the level design is I mentioned that Shadow Generations is really fun because the combat is what speeds you up, and it does not do that. And there's no combat really in Tokyo, whatever the Tokyo stage is called. It's just called Tokyo on the menu. It doesn't have a lot. It doesn't have a lot of combat. So, and a lot of these sections are like, I don't want to say not designed for like people who know what the Chaos Spear like shit is, but there is a section where you could boost immediately in the air, and if you just spam Chaos Spear, your momentum carries you across the entire thing. You never touch the ground. You just hit a spring and you skip it. And it's very. I've never touched the ground in that section because immediately my brain's like, oh, boost and spam spear until you fly over it. That's optimal.
Also, yeah, and I do like how instead of just playing as Movie Shadow, it's like Game Shadow, but like morphed into Movie Shadow. I think it's cool they actually got Keanu Reeves to voice him, but being Keanu Reeves, his vocal performance is very funny.
Yeah, I will also say I have an issue with the line, this must be Earth, Maria told me about it. If this is Shadow in Shadow Gens, then he knows what Earth is because he has been living there for many, many years.
And I like how
So he would not be confused.
okay, so in the Ian Flynn continuity, it's Earth and not like fucking Mobius or whatever.
Uh, well, that's what I would imagine because Maria would not know what Earth is. It doesn't matter because even if there wasn't, if even if it was Mobius instead of Earth, it's like why would Maria know what Earth is, and why would Earth be different? Because we know like countries exist in Unleashed on this planet because
Yeah.
Unleashed exist.
Yeah, and I will say I feel like even like the base game stages like for Shadow have a lot of these, but I feel like there's a bit too many scripted sequences in the Tokyo stage and they're a bit too long. Like I
Yeah,
think
I will say that one of them is like especially that one is way too long in the beginning.
yeah, I do like the I do think the while it is a bit over the top, I like the part where he like tosses a gun soldier out of a helicopter and then just blows it up. That's really I just really like that part for some reason, but it is a bit like over the top.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it being cheesy. I just don't want it to be so long. It is mildly annoying. At least they're not like trying to trick you that it's gameplay like they do in Forces, where it's like press a single button during a like minute-long cutscene.
Yeah, and at first when they like showed previews of like the DLC stage, I thought the movie like model looked a bit weird, but in game but it's grown on me a bit. I do like how it looks now.
Yeah, it's like I think in cutscenes, like the mouth is obviously weird because it's not the side mouth, and I'm not used to seeing that in a Sonic game. but it looks good in a lot of the cutscenes. I will like at least in game, like in the stage, the in stage cutscenes look pretty good.
Yeah. I will say I do like in the overworld some of like the stuff you can do. Like I think it's really unique how like you don't just get like red rings in the stage and they like just unlock random things. You get like keys for treasure chests like in the hub world. That's like a good way to use the open zone. I do like some of the dialogue from the NPCs, like how
Yeah.
Big the cat just like talks to Gerald about fishing. Apparently Maria has like a sister.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of I haven't seen all the Eggman family stuff in this, but again, it seems like they're setting up something. Especially with the last Sonic game with Frontiers, they set up a lot with Eggman and Sage, with like family, and that was like a theme of that game for Eggman. So they're definitely doing something. And side note, I take back actually what I said about this game running better. I don't know what the fuck happened. Sonic Generations is now like chugging in like a really annoying way. I don't know what the fuck they did to it with the DLC update, but it's now running worse than it was before. It's like 60, but like chunky 60.
Yeah.
So fuck you, Sonic Team, fix it.
Yeah, and I do like I haven't like I will say I have not 100%ed the game. I'm not sure if I will. I think there's like a thing that like lets you check your progress for like overworld stuff. I'm like 50% there. I'm really curious about what like the Orbot and Cubot rocket ship thing is supposed to be. Like
Yeah, I'm
I,
like
I
I'm like
don't
70% right now.
I don't know like
Uh,
what the outcome of that is going to be. It probably won't be anything too big. I am curious to see where that goes.
I imagine it's just like explaining how they got out of white space to be in fucking uh forces or frontiers or forces, yeah, because they are in forces, right? I think they are.
Yeah.
It's just explaining how they got out of there because at the end, in Generations, it's like implied that Eggman just kind of left them in space to die, and they just like retcon that because they're like, oh yeah, we kind of forgot that Eggman might want them. By the way, the only unchanged cutscene in Gens is the Eggman in white space cutscene.
Yeah. Did
I
they
don't know why that was left unchanged, other than that's
did they
pretty good.
even like re-record dialogue for that?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be able to tell because it's still Mike Pollock talking to Mike Pollock,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. I will say setting any Mike Pollock controversies aside, I do like him as Gerald.
Yeah, he did pretty good. Uh, yeah, he did pretty good.
Yeah.
I have no complaints. He's a pretty good voice actor. All things ignoring all the shit he's been saying on Twitter.com. Um, yeah,
Yeah. And I don't remember if like I saw this while I was playing or like I saw in like a stream, but did in the Time Eater cutscene, I think I might have skipped it. Did they always like say like, oh, he found the Time Eater right after his theme park got destroyed in Colors?
yeah. I think that was in base game where he it said that after Colors he found the time meter because he was roaming space.
Yeah,
Because he gets like blasted off in like deep space at the end of Colors.
I think it
So.
was like I was watching either Snapcube or a Radical Soda like VOD of them playing the remaster, and I think he specifically says like after you destroyed my interstellar amusement park.
Yeah, I feel like I remember them mentioning that it was like he was after Colors in base game, but it's been a minute since I played Colors and also watched the cutscenes or played Time Eater.
Yeah. Uh
That's a lot of things I don't want to do ever.
yeah. And I know I mentioned like the final boss was better, but seriously, the Black Doom fight is like Black Doom fight, Hydrogen Bomb, Time Eater, Coughing Baby.
Yeah, Time Eater fucking sucks. I can't believe that boss fight. When I played it again, I'm like, this is like just not an intuitive or fun boss fight. I don't know what they were thinking with that.
Yeah, like in Shadow Gens, they actually use like all the stuff you learned throughout the game. Like it even feels like it repurposes some boss fights. Like the part where the Doom Surf feels like it's repurposing like the Metal Overlord fight, and then like the Neo Devil Doom where like all hell Shadow plays, which honestly is an amazing remix of the song. I
Yeah.
I really like the trend in Sonic games where like phase one is like an orchestral theme, and then phase two is like the main theme of the game, and it's like
Yeah, I'm glad that Frontiers kind of started bringing back that trend. I will say Frontiers remix of I'm Here is not great until the DLC. I don't think there is a remix of it until DLC, actually, my bad. I thought there's like a slight orchestral one that doesn't play long. But I like what Frontiers did as well, and I hope that because these two games have done it, that they're gonna keep doing this. I hope that Sonic Team learned their lesson and are gonna make another game that's this good.
yeah
I I'm not off. They're not off the hook yet.
yeah, but yeah, I like how Black Doom just loves Radical Highway.
Shadow the Hedgehog. I love Radical Highway.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is really funny. I also do like the Radical Highway levels. I think the I don't play them much because they're kind of only fun with Doom Wings for me.
yeah.
Uh
I actually tried Act One without the Doom Wings, and it's also pretty fun.
yeah, I've played it once. I got a B on it, and I was like, okay, that's gonna take a while to get my score up on that. And I just didn't do it again.
Yeah,
But I should try it.
yeah, and I think comparing the Doom Wings to a Supersonic again, they did not fix Supersonic.
Oh yeah, no, it is there's a really big difference with you know, Doom Wings and Supersonic is that Doom Wings are fun, and Supersonic is not. Supersonic is not fun. They're like, what if you can fly through the level and go too fast for the game to like process where you are? Like that sounds really, really fun. Like one time.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think this remaster did make me realize that classic Sonic, while fine, is like not that fun. It's like fine, but I was like, I have not gone back to a classic Sonic level really. It's just I spin dash and then I I jump over the level and I'm like, yay!
yeah. Part of what
And
I've heard,
then
what I will
oh what?
part of what I've heard about like the spin dash is the reason why they switched over to the boost is because they had trouble balancing it in 3D, and like I can see that because the spin dash was infamous for like being busted in Adventure, and I guess they decided to translate that into 2D.
Yeah, it spin dashes. I mean, I think they should bring it back in some form. Maybe if they just stick with drop dash for the rest of time now, which they might do. um, Sonic Mania Supremacy, it seems. But yeah, they might just be sticking with drop dash at this point
Yeah,
because it seems easier to balance because you're not gonna go turbo like on
yeah. Do you think
that
they're
soul.
do you think they're gonna like do more DLC for the game? Because I've seen people say like, oh, there was a missed opportunity to not like add more stages as DLC to the original gens. Of course, other than Casino Night, which is just a pinball mini game.
I do not think they're adding more stages to gens because I think that even though this port is much better, I do think it is held together by like super glue and scotch tape.
Yeah, it's
I do not think that this is like stable enough for them to like know how to do it anymore.
yeah. I definitely think Shadow Gens is how they're gonna add more DLC, like more
I
stages, because that game was like, it was made on a different engine, and it's obviously the engine they're more like optimized for.
It's also I think their skill set is not in Gen's level design. Like Sonic controls way differently in Gen's than Shadow does. Like it's a completely different control scheme and physics. They have to make more Unleashed stages, and Shadow Gens is not like Unleashed based, I would say. Like Unleashed is a very like as you're running, you have to react and make like quick small movements in order to keep your speed up. Shadow Gens is like you move around the stage and go up and down and all around when you're in 3D. Like if they want you to do platforming in Sonic Generations, they do it in 2D because this character does not control good in small movements, where I think Shadow is like very tight and it feels good.
Yeah, even like the
Uh,
two even like the 2D levels in this game feel pretty fun.
Yeah, he feels like tight. Like even as I play Gens right now, just to get a refresher on what it feels like. There's like I boost and it just feels like weird to me now that I've played it. And like the short hop is, while I like the short hop in Gens, it's a good mechanic. It always like I don't know. I'm just used to not being there like in Shadow. I will say I don't like how I wish there was a short hop that doesn't make you lose speed in Shadow Gens. That's like the one thing that game kind of needs, I think. I just I don't like how much speed you lose when you jump.
Yeah.
It feels bad.
One thing I just
Until
remember
Chaos Spear canceling, Chaos Spear momentum saves it.
one thing I just remembered is I do hope that like the modding scene for this game like becomes as big as like OG gens, because obviously like both like the remaster and Shadow gens are fairly new, so like there's not as many mods for it, but I do hope they switch over to these games for like modding, because you know these games run better.
Yeah, and I could actually open it.
Yeah.
I would really like someone to figure out how to get everything the Unleashed Project had onto this game, so I could play Unleashed Project where it's like a little clearer and actually runs on my like 1440p monitor.
Yeah, like either just like port a lot of the mods from OG gens over to the remaster, or just like even just like make new ones. Like I
Yeah,
would,
I'm sure a lot of the mod creators are like right now testing the feasibility of how to put a lot of them back into gens. I just don't know what. I do know that this is not in the same engine. Like it is not the same engine as Shadow Gens. I could tell because it opens up a new game whenever you press on the button. It's really, if you like look on the bottom of your computer, this shit is opening a new game. Like these are not running in like it just opens up a new game. It's
yeah.
crazy. So maybe it's possible. I do hope again Unleashed Project. I would like to see with pipeline fixers and whatever that made that game look like Unleashed. I want that, but I want that one to run fucking good. What's wrong with my computer?
Yeah.
And two, I want it to look 1440p, which mine does right now, and this game looks crisp and very, very clean right now.
Yeah.
And it is yummy.
I haven't really tried that many like mods for this game. I have tried like the main mod I tried that was like, basic like Sonic Overshadow mod, which like did not change any of his like voice clips, so he still had Shadow's voice. I know you tried the
Oh yeah,
whiny.
Whiny Femboy Shadow. That one's a good one. I like Whiny Femboy Shadow.
Yeah, there was another one. I do have some level mods downloaded that I haven't tried yet, but there is one that was very disappointing, where it was a Memphis, Tennessee mod, and I thought they were going to like replace like the Mephiles voice lines with the ones from the '06 fan dub, but no, it just replaces like the text with Memphis, Tennessee, and doesn't change any of his voice lines.
That is, yeah, I did see that one. I did download the Mephiles pitch down voice and the replacing the yellow with purple. I don't know why they went with yellow for his aura in that boss. Mephiles, in my mind, like the mod just changes all the lighting in that room to be purple instead of yellow, and it's like, oh, this looks like '06. And I'm like, oh, great, it looks right. I don't know why they didn't do this originally. It's very odd. Yellow was a weird choice for Mephiles. I kind of get it, but it like contrasts really heavily because purple and yellow are like contrasting colors. It doesn't look like the lighting that would be emanating out of him because he's like, again, he's a very purple guy. Like maybe to represent Iblis, who was a more of a yellow-orange color. I don't know. I know Mephiles has against some yellow, but it's just odd. So I downloaded that mod just to fix it and the voice because I think one, it raises the volume. His audio is really quiet in that boss, but also like the voice actor is doing a good job. I just don't know like why the direction was like be like a preteen Mephiles.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
I, I, one thing I gotta mention, with the Mephiles voice actor, same as Jesse Infinity Train, which is cool.
Oh, that's pretty dope. Yeah,
And it's
good voice actor. I just don't know what the direction was.
honestly, it's kind of hard to tell because like he does a very different direction, but you could tell it's like a different like you could tell like when you compare. I think it's easier to tell that's him if you compare him to the original Mephiles voice because like again he sounds more like preteen Mephiles, and that character was a preteen, or I think he just was a teen. I don't know. This is about Shadow, not Infinity Train. I'm looking at some of the mods. I found one called Snapcube References. These better replace the voices instead of just the text.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with what they did. I think Metal Overlord is I don't know who they got to do it. I think it's just might just be I don't know if it's Roger Craig Smith. That would be the one that would make sense.
I don't think I remember hearing who it was. I don't remember his name, but it is not Roger Craig Smith.
I think that I kind of wish they did have him do it because if I'm not mistaken, in Heroes, Metal Overlord was voiced by Ryan Drummond because it's supposed to be like a reflection of Sonic. So Metal Sonic would have a voice that like sounds like adjacent to Sonic, but not the same as Sonic. Like you could tell it's like, oh, that's like I hear inflection of Sonic, but it's not Sonic, which is what Metal Sonic is supposed to be. I think that's a really smart move whenever you give Metal Sonic a voice is to have like the voice actor for Sonic do it.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of did that with like the Four Kids cast, but instead it was for Shadow, where they were both voiced by Jason Griffith.
Yeah. That they did do that.
Yeah. Another thing I just remembered was the DLC skins, uh, or like also like just the digital deluxe version in general. That's like just a trend where like, here's what the release date would have been, but like if you want to get it on the actual release date, you have to pay extra money. Everyone else gets it 3 days later.
Yeah, trolled. I have beef with that. The movie Shadow plus voice pack is not a skin that you could activate outside of the level. Fixed, please.
Yeah,
I would like to use that.
yeah, I do like the adventure skin like for modern Sonic, even if I do think like if they were to make like like a generation sequel, I think if they were to add like a third Sonic, it would be Adventure Sonic. So like I do have a bit of a problem with them just like lumping in the adventure era with the modern era, but I get why they do it because like they don't want to like make too many separate Sonics, but like it would that's just like a nitpick I have. I feel like Sonic Jam is a bit of a weird. It's a very obscure reference to make, and then Terios, I understand why they scrapped that design.
Yeah, it is not good. It is not a good design.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think personally I hope they don't make another generations for maybe like 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I want them to stop reusing levels and I want them to use their brains. These level design are the level design is great. Make new ones. I there's not been new levels since like Forces, and they were bad, and half of them weren't new.
But didn't didn't Sonic Superstars have new levels?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that game. Yeah, I did not play that one. That's maybe the only Sonic game that has released not on Apple Arcade that I have not played.
Yeah, I also forget that exists a lot.
It was really mid from what I heard. They did not do a great job. It is not Mania. They saw everyone liked Mania and was like, let's do that again, and they proceeded to not do that ever again.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, because Mania is one of my favorite Sonic games. Mania is a fantastic game.
Yeah. So yeah, do you have any other like thoughts?
Um, Not really. I think that Shadow Gems, if you want what a good Sonic game should look like, it is Sonic X Shadow. You get probably the best Sonic game previously from the past 10 years, and then I think Shadow Gems is better than Sonic Gens by a lot. It's a great package for a game, and I think it's a great way to get into Sonic. I think that if anyone wants to get into Sonic and is like doesn't know where to start, I wouldn't like before this. I've had people tell me like they want to get into Sonic and like what game should I play, and I just go like I don't know. I don't know what game you should play because I would like. I think Gens was an interesting one, but the story is so bad in Gens that I'm like, well, you're gonna think that Sonic is dog shit because you're gonna play. It's like, wow, that was a fun game with a bad story that was really wholly uninteresting. And while this game does not fix it, Shadow Gens actually has a story and is like good, and you will. I think people will like it. And if you vibe with what Shadow Gens does, then check out the other ones. Like it also explains the history if you want it. Like they intended for this game to be like a like you want to start playing Sonic, play it
Yeah.
because there was like there has not been a good entry point. Like Frontiers, I would not tell people because Frontiers is like I'd recommend Frontiers if you like Sonic. If you don't like Sonic, don't waste your money because you will hate it. You will hate Frontiers. It is not is a 7 out of 10 game at best. And that's being generous, I think. It's not it's a game that if you like what Sonic is, then you will have a fun time with it. If you don't know anything about Sonic, it is not a fun time. It is like you're gonna be miserable. You could be like, this is really boring. The boss fights are kind of fun. The game kind of doesn't work. And the cyberspace is bad. Is the whole game this bad? Maybe. Is every Sonic game this bad? No.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
there are some Sonic games that are that bad.
there are some Sonic games with level design that are that bad, if not worse. Forces is one of them. And again, like I wouldn't recommend SA2 is like probably like a long time ago I'd recommend it, but like nowadays it's like it's such a I don't want to say old, but it is old. And while that's like not a great reason, it's like it is old and it's not a great game to jump into Sonic with because it's like yeah, these are good games, but it's also like they're good games if you like Sonic. This is like the first Sonic game where I'm like, if you don't know what a Sonic is, play it. Because you will find out if you like Sonic.
I
If
remember
you like these characters.
on the Adventure 2 I remember like an interview for the third Sonic movie. Ben Schwartz said he was trying to like do research for the third movie by playing Adventure 2, but he could not like get into the game, so he just watched like a playthrough.
Yeah, I think Adventure 2, like I think it's a good game. But I think a lot of Sonic fans don't realize this that most Sonic games are good if you like Sonic, and that's why they don't do well.
Yeah. I
It's like Unleashed. I think Unleashed is not a horrible game. I think it is a solid game. I don't think the Warhog is fun at all. I don't think it's fun. But the daytime stages, while maybe being the best Sonic level design, if you don't like Sonic, that shit is not fun.
my
It is not fun.
my hot take with like the adventure games is I know that you like Adventure 1, but my hot take is that Adventure 2 is good, but Adventure 1 is not that good.
Yeah. I think Adventure 1 is fun, and I had fun when I played it last. Um, and I think another reason why I would also not recommend Adventure is what you said, that it is a very flawed game. It is
Yeah,
very flawed, and two, the PC port is like genuinely atrocious.
it is just in my opinion, I feel like Adventure 1 like introduced a lot of ideas, and then Adventure 2 were like, okay, here's those ideas like optimized.
Yeah, Adventure 2 is definitely the better game by a lot.
Yeah.
But again, I'd still say Adventure 2 suffers from being like nearly like what 20 years old now.
Yeah, I think so.
Like I think it's might be 20 years old. And I think that it's hard to tell people nowadays like play a 20-year-old game to see if you like it because it's just different. They had a different mindset when making it. Like it's just kind of a lot of it's like unreasonably hard. And this is I think like I could play it now and I could enjoy it, but I remember when I first played Adventure 2, I'm like this is hard and dumb and I'm not gonna play it anymore.
Yeah, and I'm
And
pretty
I just
sure
went
like
back to Gens.
the first time I played it, there was like an upgrade you had to get for Tails that I guess I just somehow completely missed. So one of the levels I just could not get through.
Yeah. Those games have a lot of issues. And I think that I think again, like I've told people, like if you want to get into Sonic, try Sonic X Shadow, and maybe start with Shadow. Like maybe possibly start with Shadow
Yeah.
because like Shadow explains the story, and I've seen and I think this is what is happening. It's the best-selling like Sonic game, right? If I'm not mistaken, it's sold very very well. I
Yeah,
think it exceeded expectations.
I'm pretty sure it's like also you mentioned that like Shadow Gens is better than Sonic Gens. I'm pretty sure like it's also like reviewing better than Sonic Gens. Like I'm pretty sure like on Steam like the OG Gens was like it was like rated as like very positive, but then like Sonic X Shadow was overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, it's a Sonic game that I think the people that have the most issues with it are Sonic
Yeah,
fans,
like
which
IGN
is the
IGN
unheard of.
IGN gave it a 9, Donkey liked it, which is like
Tunky said, "Why isn't this game bad? Why is this game work good?" Which is like, it again. I will also say it is insanely impressive that Shadow Generations worked day one. It worked. Like I'm so used to fucking games nowadays coming out, like especially from big developers, just
and
not working.
especially us from Sonic Team.
Especially from Sonic Team. They love to release games that don't work on launch. Frontiers never worked. That game is still broken. And Team Sonic Racing, I don't think the online was ever fixed. So it is crazy that this game launched in such a polished and like clean state. And like yeah, this is a great game. Like it's a great game. It is just a fun all around game that and it's not restrictive. I think that's like a lot of Sonic games can feel like, especially recently with like forces and stuff, they like restrict you and they don't let you have fun with it. Shadow Generations, there's like a lot to explore with, and the controls are very tight. So there's like mechanics that you could learn that are like if you want to get better at the game, there's a way to get better at it. If you want to improve your time, there's a lot of ways you can improve your time on it. And I've had fun improving my time. I think my time on like Chaos Island is like 2 minutes something. Almost I think I might be getting close to like sub 2 minutes. It's I have fun like figuring out how to optimize my path, how to optimize chaos control, how to like learn how the best way to preserve momentum in the air. And I feel like that's what they apparently tried to do that with forces with the Wispin, and they didn't because they put invisible walls and automation everywhere. This game, it's like yeah, you don't have to homing attack the thing it tells you to. You could spam Chaos Spear and you might save a couple seconds. It's great, and I've not had a Sonic game like this in a while.
In terms of like what I definitely 100%ing this game is definitely something I'm considering because like finding all the collectibles is like really fun.
Yeah, I think the open zone's really great, and this is what I hope. I hope they take note of this, and the next open zone, they go bigger. They mix what worked with Frontiers open zones and what works with this one. I like that Frontiers open zones are almost like levels. They have like levels in themselves that you could play. I think that's a great mechanic in that there is challenges and mini levels that are in the open zone. Like, oh, there's like a castle. You have to platform and do like some quick stepping and enemy fighting to get up the castle. I'm like, that's a pretty cool thing. Do that, but make it as consistent as a Shadows open zone, because I think that this is everything makes sense, and I like the I like the progression. I think that that's my favorite part is, and I know Donkey complained about this in Frontiers. Frontiers doesn't have that progression in the open zone. It just tells you can't go here, and you don't know why you can't go there. In this game, it's like, oh, there's water. I can't go in the water yet, so I need to wait until I get the water thing. Oh, I can't go in the purple goo. I gotta get the purple goo thing. And I appreciate that. It's not, I don't want to say Metroidvania style, but it is what I like about Metroid games. Is I love the reason I love Metroidvanias is it feels rewarding to get something and be in like have it click in your brain like I gotta go back there, and they figured out a way to make it work where it's fun
One
and
thing
I like going around.
One thing I do wonder is like I checked out like the collection room, which is where you like see all the collectibles. How do you get like Gerald's like journal pages? Because I do not have any of them.
If you see those things flying around with the 3 balloons, you have to Chaos Spear those, and it drops them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I did not realize that until I just like started like beating them, and I was like, oh, okay. So he just hold Chaos Spear and it kills it.
Okay. So
Yeah, I've read like a handful of those, and I was like, huh, interesting.
yeah. So yeah, I don't really I can't really think of anything else to say about this. Do you have anything else or
No,
so yeah,
I don't have anything.
so yeah, overall, please keep it up, Sonic Team. I want the next game to be as good as this one was.
Yeah, if you maybe you'll even get a player's voice nomination. Maybe Jeff Keighley will let you go past round 1. Will be really good.
Yeah, and you know what? The new racing game they revealed at the Game Awards, that better be good too.
I don't have much hope for that one. I think Team Sonic Racing is so fucking bad that I don't have a lot of hope that they're going to fix it, but maybe they will. Maybe they've had more dev time than they did with Team Sonic Racing, and maybe they'll scrap that dog shit team mechanic in Team Sonic Racing. Don't do that again because it was not fun. You know what they should do? Genius big brain mechanic idea. What if you transform? Or what if the stage transforms as you play it, and your car could go into a boat and an airplane as well, and you call it like All Stars Racing Transform 2?
And then you put Yogscast in the game.
Exactly, and you just do that game again because that's like the best kart racer there is. Like they cooked with that one. That one's really
Yeah,
fun. That's
I
one of the best. That's one of the best ones.
yeah I think I will say that game has one of the funniest rosters of any just video game in general.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy.
But yeah, overall, uh, good game, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, play it.
Yeah,
If you like Sonic, if you're interested in Sonic, play it.
bye, bye, bye.
Bye bye.